Welcome to this afternoon's webinar titled Hurricane Katrina and the Musical Community of New Orleans, a conversation with Big Chief Dollis Jr. and Emmett Price III. Today's webinar is the first of two programs exploring the impact of Katrina on the musical traditions of New Orleans. The second webinar is next Tuesday, February 11th, and it is titled New Orleans, Katrina and Bounce, a conversation with Big Frida. My name is Carol Oja, and I am Faculty Director of the Humanities at the Radcliffe Institute and William Powell Mason Professor of Music in the Harvard Faculty of Arts and Sciences. This program continues a series of discussions about climate justice, the arts, and the humanities that began 2 years ago with Angelique Kidjo, the global pop star and UN champion of the earth. She was in conversation with the jazz artist and composer Vijay Iyer. Then last year, we focused on climate fiction for young adults, especially the renowned authors Octavia Butler and Nnedi Okorafor. Recordings of all these programs can be found on the Radcliffe website. These conversations are part of the Radcliffe Institute's 5-year focus on climate change with climate justice at the center. This year's programs are co-sponsored with Harvard's Department of Music. It is shocking to realize that 20 years have passed since the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, which at the time was the costliest natural disaster in American history. It was an event that made clear how such catastrophes can impact different communities in strikingly different ways. Since then, this country has experienced at least a dozen major hurricanes. There have also been disastrous wildfires, which as of 2023 had consumed over 126 million acres, with the recent fires in Los Angeles adding horrifically to the toll. We face a new generation of climate emergencies that have a massive and often unequal impact on those who live in the affected areas. Today's featured guest, Dollis Jr., became Big Chief of the Wild Magnolias in 2006, stepping into roles inherited from his parents, Big Queen Rita Dollis and the late Dollis Sr. A native of New Orleans, Dollis Jr. has made his career there as a musician and community leader, connecting New Orleans and Mardi Gras Indian culture and working with young people to be productive members of their communities. Our moderator this afternoon is Emmett G. Price III, inaugural Dean of Africana Studies at Boston's Berklee College of Music. An eminent scholar of ethnomusicology, a community leader, and an ordained minister, Dr. Price is also an active musician, and he plays a prominent role as a public scholar, especially on radio through his podcast, All Revved Up. Full bios for both of our guests can be found on Radcliffe's website, and we are grateful for their contributions today. I want to acknowledge members of the Radcliffe Institute Leadership Society and our annual donors who are watching this afternoon. Your generosity keeps Radcliffe programming free and open to the public, and we thank you. I also want to acknowledge the Ethel and David Jackson Fund for the Future Climate, which is supporting this webinar. We are grateful. Today, we will view a brief video alongside a conversation between our guests. We encourage our audience to use the Q&A feature in Zoom to submit your questions and do so at any time during the program. Since we anticipate a lot of questions, we ask that you keep them brief. This will enable our speakers to address as many as possible in the available time. With great pleasure, then, I will now turn over the virtual floor to Dr. Emmett Price.
Greetings to each of you who are viewing this webinar. We're so excited to have you. And before I launch into this conversation with our very esteemed guest, Big Chief Dollis Jr., I want to extend my gratitude to the Harvard Radcliffe Institute, as well as Harvard's Music Department, and certainly to Dr. Oja and Becky Wasserman, Amy Montilli, and the entire staff behind the scenes who are making this possible. We're so excited to be here, and we're grateful. Big Chief Dollis Jr., how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm sorry, I had a little technical problem just now.
No
But
problem.
I'm doing real good.
Good, good. It's good to see you. Good to be with you. Before we jump into this conversation, I got to ask you a question that's been on my mind because we're talking about climate and climate justice and music and New Orleans, and y'all just had a whole bunch of snow down there. What did you do in the snow?
Well, I tried to build a snowman, but that didn't work out for the home team because I didn't know what I was doing. But this is the first time I ever seen we had like 10 inches of snow in less than 4 hours, and then New Orleans just shut down. Like we had no jobs, no school, and for kids to see it, it was just a wonderful thing. See kids out there playing in it, having snowball fights. I saw stuff like that on TV, but seeing it in person was wonderful.
That's awesome. The wonderful experience to really be immersed in something different, something
Right.
different, a number of our viewers would be interested to hear from you about the wild magnolias. Who are the wild magnolias? What are the wild magnolias?
Well, the wild magnolias, you have two forms of them. You have the Mardi Gras Day, walking the streets, through the community, singing, parading for the community. Then you have the band, which is on the stage and rocking out and have musicians behind you. But the Wild Magnolia started back in the early 50s. My dad took it over when he was 13 as Big Chief. And once he passed away, then I took it over. So it's just been going down and been going down. So once I get older, I'll pass it to somebody and they'll keep it going too.
Mhm. And this is a rich tradition of what we know as the Mardi Gras Indians, and there are various, tribes or people groups from different areas of the city. The Wild Magnolias, you all are primarily in what area of the city?
So we're in the Uptown area. We're
Okay.
called Uptown Indians, right off of Second and Drive, and that's where we start at, and that's where we end at.
Awesome, awesome. We have a video clip that I want to cue up, and Bo, you and I have known each other for a number of years now, and we're part of a larger group of folks who are part of the Take Me to the River documentary series. The first Take Me to the River was in Memphis, and the music of Memphis, as told by director and Grammy Award producer Martin Shore. This version is from New Orleans, and you're featured in this clip. And so we want to talk about and look at this clip dealing with Katrina in New Orleans.
Katrina changed New Orleans in many different ways. Most of the neighborhoods that I grew up in, they didn't come back.
It's like taking a meat cleaver and hitting you in the chest with it and taking a chunk of meat out your chest and you never get replaced.
There is a house in New Orleans that called the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know I'm one.
We went through downtown and there was just the hordes of hot, disoriented, abandoned people. No army, no, anybody here to help. I mean, I just kept thinking, this is America. This is America. This is America.
Gambling man down in New Orleans.
There was a serious gap of New Orleans musicians that just got misplaced or displaced. And the federal government just made it absolutely impossible for the original New Orleanians to come home. That, for me, was sad. Maybe close to half the people that's in New Orleans here weren't born here anymore. The people that were born here, you can go knock on the door and they'll invite you in to eat. That ain't no more.
I didn't realize how much it beat me up, Katrina. She beat me up. I thought I was strong, but it's been very difficult for me to come back from that.
before the hurricane, New Orleans had the highest percentage of African descent homeowners in the Western Hemisphere. That it's no longer a reality. So there's a lot culturally that shifted.
We were very so close-knit as a family and community in New Orleans that Katrina really split us up. And now you don't have the musician that used to live down the street, he's on the road now. The guy that used to live across the street that played the piano, he's gone. He lives in Texas now.
Shops that's been there for years, the part of the community, they added something too. They're gone now. Now there's some stranger from New York or someone from California that we never met. It's new. So it changes the culture a little bit. It's not a bad thing, but it's just different.
A lot of newer, younger musicians who came, who are coming to try to find whatever that special something is about the city's music. And we have a lot of folk who are not musicians who decided to come here. They came to help to rebuild and decided they wanted to stay. I always say they came and got vaccinated because once you come here and you spend more than 5 days here, you do want to come back and stay.
Katrina was, we say sometimes, was a blessing and a curse. It was, like I said, a tough time, but the good thing about it is it brought a lot of attention to New Orleans. And a lot of people, I feel like now, felt like it was something that was almost lost. So people tend to cherish it a little more.
We want to thank the Take Me to the River Educational Foundation for availing that clip for our use here. And Big Chief, you and I have been on the road many times. We've played that clip for different educational endeavors that we have done and trainings that we've done and professional development opportunities. And I can't watch that without feeling something in the pit of my gut. And I imagine you as being a New Orleans native and were there during that time. And so thank you for watching it one more time and perhaps being triggered. Can you take us back to before Katrina and just give our viewers a sense of the musical community, particularly, you know, what you participated in and what you experienced as you were growing up? And then I want to go to post Katrina so we can look at the difference between the previous and the after.
Well, before Katrina hit, you know, you could find musicians on their porch playing, little kids trying to start a second line band. Oh, you play trumpet? Come on. You play drums? Come on. And they'll just walk the streets 10 o'clock at night, you know. But after Katrina, all that kind of went down the drain. You don't have the sense of musicians in New Orleans. So a lot of times when you're getting down here prior to Katrina, it was like wherever you turned at, you find musicians, just like they said in the video. And now it's scavengers. And now let me talk about Indians. Before Katrina, oh, you had Indians all over the city. Now you have Indians, some be staying in Atlanta, some stays in Texas. So once they got there, they never moved back to New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Some were scared that Katrina was going to happen again. Some just got comfortable and content where it was at, so they never came back. So there's a lot of issues that Katrina brought on. Some say it was a blessing, some say it was a curse. You know, just depends on who you talk to. They'll give you a different sides of it. Mm-hmm. You know, older people say they're washing the sins away of New Orleans, and you know, because New Orleans was getting real bad at one time. But people like me as a musician, I look at it a little differently. You know, it just kind of stopped a lot of cultural things. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that was coming here for the culture and that lived here for the culture is not here no more.
And can you talk about the venues, some of the spaces and places that you played at before, or gathered at, or, you know, enjoyed community and fellowshipping with one another at before Katrina and after?
They have a lot of places that shut down because of Katrina. Two of my favorite, one was called Donna's. It was on Rampart, right across the street from Armstrong Park. They closed down because of Katrina, and that was like the most wonderful spot to play. Is I remember the place probably holds 120 maybe, and I packed it to about 250 in there one New Year's Eve, and I mean it just was a vibe. Another place was called Funky, but you go in there, you're not coming out to the sun coming up, and that's literally how you got, So a lot of venues like really never came back, and that was the neighborhood spots, and just with a lot of neighborhood ballrooms that the older guys used to go sit at, or where they had Indian practice at, or you could go in there and see a second line band on Thursdays. A lot of places never came back because of Katrina. So right now, second line bands really don't have nowhere to go play on a weekly basis. Or they might start a new spot, but then you got to build it up and tell people, oh, we playing over here now. We playing over here now. So, Katrina kind of messed up a lot of places. And a lot of places built back, but it's not the people from New Orleans. Let's say it like that. It's out of town. People come trying to build it, and they don't know nothing about the culture. So it's not the same vibe.
I mean, you hit something here, because I want to go back to the video clip and just kind of elevate something. And within that clip, we had folks like George Porter, we had Big Chief Donald Harrison, Christian Scott, Irma Thomas, we had Lettucey, and all of these are phenomenal, nationally, internationally ranked artists, but they're all from New Orleans, and that's home. Lettucey said something that invoked the idea of gentrification and the changes of the various communities. I think it was George Porter who said, if you needed a meal, you can just knock on somebody's door and they give you a meal before Katrina. But afterwards, you had people from different places who were coming in and becoming members. And we're not suggesting that there's any kind of malfeasance or any kind of bad stuff that's happening, but it's just different. Can you talk about the difference of the neighborhoods?
Well, when you have different people in the uptown area, and when they're second lining or Indian practice or just Indians hitting the street, they don't understand what's going on. So when we're second, I've saw persistence. A second line band was playing, and the lady called the police because she didn't know what was going on. So before Katrina, we knew, oh, here comes the second line band. My mom stays right off of, we call it second line route. And you could be asleep Sunday morning and you go hit a tuba coming up the street with a crowd of people. And my dad just go sit on the porch and they'll be waving at them and stuff like that. That's what the second line band's for. They're going through the neighborhoods for the older people who can't get off their porch and show them some joy. So you calling the police for what? They're not doing you nothing. We passing straight by. Same thing with Indians. Indians started off to go visit people on the older people in the neighborhoods. So by me being from uptown, I stay uptown. I go around the neighborhood, but I know they have the old lady down the street that just had a stroke, but she loves Mardi Gras. So I'm gonna go see her first. And I'm gonna open up and show her my suit, and then we're gonna keep on going. So people that's coming into the neighborhood, they don't know what's going on. They're scared or they just being mean, But that's what's going on now.
You said something earlier about the fact that there is a diaspora now of Mardi Gras Indians because of Katrina. Folks, had to relocate, whether it was to Texas, to Georgia, to Florida, and you actually had to relocate yourself. I'd love for you to share a little bit about that. But what was the benefit though to the Mardi Gras Indians? Because before that, it was just neighborhoods in New Orleans. And now you all are literally across the country. Is that a good thing, perhaps?
Well, when Katrina hit, me and my mom, my dad, my family, we traveled. When I say we hit about 4 different spots before we really settled down in Gainesville, Florida. We stayed there for a year. We made Indian suit. We came back the next Mardi Gras when people thought New Orleans wasn't coming back for Mardi Gras. And we made an Indian suit. what certain materials is and stuff like that. So trying to make an Indian suit in Florida was, whew, that was some work. And me, my mom, my dad, we came back to New Orleans, and we was like, oh no, we got to come back. And sure enough, about a month later, we was back in New Orleans, and we've been back ever since. And anybody who knew my dad knew he wasn't staying away from New Orleans that long. You know, that was a year was too long for him.
Mhm.
People moving from New Orleans that's into the culture, I think it's really about my opinion. It's a bad thing because it's everybody's leaving New Orleans.
Mhm.
The culture is leaving New Orleans. That feeling is leaving New Orleans. You know, it's so much you could do out of town and try to bring the feeling back to New Orleans. And just like right now, we have a Super Bowl going on. Everything dealing with Super Bowl is with the culture.
Mhm.
You know, they bring in St. Aubert second line band. They got second line bands. They have Indians. So everything they're doing right now is basically around the culture. And New Orleans, without the culture, it wouldn't be no New Orleans.
Mhm. You know, we often talk about culture as a complex system of rituals, of beliefs, of practices, of behaviors, and so the way that you, as the big chief of the Wild Magnolias of the Mardi Gras Indians, have passed down culture, you know, from generation to generation. I know you for a number of years now, and you are in many ways an early responder to the individuals in your neighborhood and in your, particularly your tribe, particularly the young people. You are the person who the parents call when there's an incident at the school, or if there's
Right.
an interaction, you know, a courthouse situation, or the law enforcement is called. And has that changed at all? Has it intensified at all? What has been the kind of post Katrina resolve within, you know, your interaction as the big chief?
Well, my interaction never changes. The kids now don't really know too much about Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now the ones who was brought up in Katrina, sometimes you have to talk to them because they still have that feeling, that shock of Katrina, being moved, seeing bodies floating in water,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people don't talk to them. So you have to talk to them. And for the kids now that never, they just hear about it. They wasn't going through sleeping at the Superdome or sleeping in the convention center. So a lot of kids don't really know too much about it in this era. Now the ones who's like 20, 23, 24, 25 years old, yeah, they know about it because they probably had to sleep at the Superdome or sleep outside, sleep on the roof until the helicopter came and got them. So or they knew somebody who's floating in the water. You
Mm-hmm.
know, just like my great aunt, she died in Betsy.
Mm-hmm.
They say she was stuck to the ceiling. That's how long she was there. So a lot of kids these days don't know too much about it. But
Mm-hmm.
as me being a chief, I still talk to them. Like you said, some neighborhoods, kids just think what they see on TV is what they is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they want to be the rapper with the stack of money, we drug dealers, got a house full of diamonds, you know, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
think that's what it is. But in reality, you could be just you have much riches just being the safe way. And a lot of kids, I go on the street right now, and I have kids just come. Excuse me, I have kids just come to run up to me. I saw you on TV, or I won't be like you, or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
that is a wonderful feeling, just having kids come up to you and say that.
I mean, that's powerful. I'm really glad that you shared that because it helps us to think about what persistence and resilience and even renewal, you know, look like. What do you imagine could have been done differently? You know, you were there, and I certainly don't want to trigger you, but for the benefit of our viewers here, what do you imagine could have been done differently, you know, right after the storm and of course after the levee broke that perhaps wasn't done, that now 20 years of reflection, and certainly your wisdom, and you being there as a native New Orleans, a New Orleanian, what could have gone differently?
I just think they should have just warned us. As far as New Orleans, we always have hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't every year they scare us. Oh, we got this category. Oh, it's gonna do this. And just like my family, we just took home up. Oh, we're gonna put some underwear in a shirt, some jeans, and we about to go, not knowing we are gonna be gone for a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just think they should have warned us more and got more people out citywide, not like trying to wait for people to get themselves out. Because like once again, you have old people that can't maneuver like that, or they don't have the funds to go say, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna get up, gas up, and I'm gonna get a hotel." You know, and that's what a lot of people think about. I'm not gonna money to get the hotel. So I think as a city, they should have did a little bit more of getting certain people out.
Mm-hmm.
And even when they were staying at the Superdome, they stayed on that bridge for weeks before the Army or the Navy came got two families that was on their roof for about a week and just sleeping between the roof and the attic. And that's what they were doing. I think the city should have just did a bit more. I don't think the city kind of knew it was going to be that bad. It wasn't Katrina that messed us up. It was the levee that messed us up.
Right.
So Katrina was long gone by the time the levees did break, and that's what really messed us up.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I want to give a lot of props to our dear friend Martin Shore for the way that he narrated the legacy, the rich legacy and tradition of music in New Orleans through this documentary, Take Me to the River, New Orleans, because the way that he does it is kind of in three parts, you know, the pre-Katrina, kind of during Katrina, the impact of Katrina, and post-Katrina. And it's very helpful for us to have it narrated by folks who are there. I think that there are various narratives that are existing about what it was and what happened. And I think you just provided some clarity that it really wasn't Hurricane Katrina itself.
Right.
It was the levee breaking
Mm-hmm.
and what that did as an impact. You know, how do we or how should we remember as we think about 20 years after the devastation? How should we remember and what stories should we tell?
Well, I just say like the people who did pass away, just remember them in a good faith,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on the good side of it. Because I know a few personally that died by saving somebody or
Mm-hmm.
trying to save somebody. And that's the way not that Katrina took them or stuff like that. Then I know other people, like when the levee did break, they was inside sleep. So they really couldn't do nothing by the time the water started getting in their house or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So remember Katrina, it could be a bad thing and it could be a good thing. Some people just try to block it out their mind because of such dramatic situations.
Mm-hmm.
But other people look at it because it ran people away from New Orleans for a long time. And people still away from New Orleans just because of Katrina. But like I said, it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. It just depends on who you talk to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I want to pivot just a little bit because you are a musician, you have a band, you're about to go on tour, you've released a number of projects. Yeah, I was just with you in the UK where you ripped up the stage, man, and had everybody out there wilding out in the audience. I mean, you are absolutely legit, man. I, you know, give big props to you. Talk about
Thank
your
you.
creative process. Talk about how do you create and what inspires you in this season.
Well, I get that from my dad, all the way. My dad used to just pop up with songs in the middle of a stage set, and we look at him like, "What are you?" And follow them, you know. To take it further than what he was at. You know, he started the Mardi Gras Indians on wax. He started Mardi Gras Indians being known around the world. So what I'm doing now, just like the album about to be released, is with Al Green's band, the high rhythm section. And the name of the album is called Chip Off the Old Block. So this is more like a bluesy Memphis, Tennessee, Mardi Gras Indians feel. And that's what we're going by right now. So everything I do is something from last album. Whatever music you like in New Orleans was on my last album. It was from Zydeco to Second Line to hip hop to whatever. It was on there, and it was just something different.
I mean, that's awesome. Now, talking to us about the Mardi Gras Indian sound. I mean, because most people, when you say, Zydeco, they may have a reference point to that. Or when they say, Memphis Soul, they may have a reference point to that. Or if they say, Second Line, there may be a reference point to that.
Mhm.
But what is that Mardi Gras Indian sound?
So Mardi Gras Indians, when you hear them come up the street or just anywhere, you go hear tamarines for one. That's gonna be on the top of everything, and you will hit a bass drum. And the bass drum is gonna give you that bottom beat. So, and it comes from West Africa. So everything that comes, it is a rotation, and we just be it's a spirit that come over you. Because when you start singing and got the suit on, you got the people chanting behind you, it's a whole different spirit that come over you. And I saw people like just start dancing to it. Don't know what they dance, but they like the feeling of it, and they get into it. But the whole beat is just it comes back. A long time ago they didn't even have a bass drum. They used to beat on the cigarette machine. They had Indian practice, or they had a man named Nat. He used to beat on a bucket, like the little 5-gallon buckets, and just walk the street with that. So it just comes from the soul. I tell anybody, just come and do what you love to do.
And I mean, you have had great success. I mean, we were joking, before we came on live about, next year's Grammys and our expectation to see you and your band nominated for a Grammy. And as much as it was a joke, I mean, you are legit and certainly can move in that area. But the Mardi Gras Indian music and the Mardi Gras Indian sound was not always recorded. So how do we move from a neighborhood oriented practice to something that has been recorded and literally shared all across the world?
Well, my dad started that from literally going to an Indian practice, and it wasn't his Indian practice. He was going to another guy, one of his friends, Jake from downtown, and the guy who runs Jazz Fest, Quint Davis. He was still in college, and he was going there to go listen to another guy who had this little reel record in the ballroom, and just have to go to Indian practice with everybody practice. We sing for a little while, and so my dad started singing. He was like, "Wait, who's that? Okay, I know this guy, but who's the other guy?" And he went up to my dad, was like, "I want to make a record on you." My dad was like, "Yeah, right. Okay, I'll call you." Yeah, and it was history after that. And just like now, you have so many guys that's doing music with Indians. You have one guy that's doing hip hop. I'm doing funk. Yeah, one person that's like kind of a little R&B feel. So everybody's in their own little category and is bringing it to a broader to be seen, of the world. So anybody that can't get to New Orleans, oh, we coming to you. We coming to you.
That's awesome. How much does the events around Katrina and certainly right after Katrina play into references or coded language within your music in particularly?
Well, I have one song. It was strictly about Katrina. Everything I went through, what other people went through, not having food, heartbreak. So earlier, like certain clubs not coming back, certain people not coming back. Uh, my next door neighbor is not my next door neighbor no more. And even like now, you can have a next door neighbor and you don't even know who the person is. And that's all changed right after Katrina.
Yeah. I want to invite our audience to use the Q&A function. We'll be shortly moving to questions and answers from the audience, well, questions from the audience and answers for Big Chief Bo Dollis Jr. And thank you to those of you who have already populated those with questions. We look forward to getting to them shortly. What do you remember the most about pre-Katrina New Orleans that is no longer there?
That's a good one. like I said, I could really, but at Donna's, that's my two favorite places.
Mhm.
And the reason why I say that because those places are where I performed at with my dad at.
Mhm.
You know, serious memories in both of those places. With me performing together. That's like before I became the front line. I was just back backgrounding then. So like now that's like that's like what I remember.
Yeah. Now I gotta ask for a friend. This is not for me. Has the food changed at all?
No. I tell everybody who comes to me 10 pounds first because you're gonna gain 20 by the time you leave. So I tell time. Now the food never changed. You know, food never changed. And you have more and more people developing how to cook. You know, you have so many different things, you know, and that's something else. Like you go ride around the corner and somebody might be cooking underneath the bridge. You go by Kermit Ruffins, he might have a 100-gallon uh red beans. You know, so the food would never change in New Orleans.
That is so good to hear.
Yes,
That is
that
so
would
good
never
to
change.
Oh man, that's I mean, and I'm looking at some of the questions here. I'm just going to move us to some of the questions. One of the questions is where do the Wild Magnolias play in New Orleans? When you all are playing, where do you play?
So we play wherever they have music at. Let's put it like that. So right now we have like Jazz Fest right around the corner. You got French Quarter Fest coming up pretty soon. We play at Tipitina's. I just had a big old birthday bash last week at DVA on Frenchman, and everybody came to show out. Big Sam, Rockin' Doopsie, all these his favorites. I was real honored that they came and showed love and performed with me. So whenever you're in New Orleans, just look me up and believe me, we'll be somewhere.
And I want to share with our viewers this brother can throw down. I'm just gonna say, having seen him numerous times, he can throw down. There, there's another question about the series Treme. Was it helpful to musicians of New Orleans? Was it helpful to the culture?
So Treme really they really captured it because what they did, they really went to they didn't just write off top of their head. They really went to Indians, they went to second liners, they went to the skeleton. And I was in 3 seasons of it. I was in two on. Um, all the Indians was in there was real Indians, except the chief. He was the only one that was an actor. But everybody else was real Indians. They had real second liners. So they really captured the real deal of it. And that was the good part of it. It wasn't just oh, we were writing a series and we're just gonna go top our head. The people who made Indian suits was real Indians, and they had other people that was helping making it, but the Indians would have main focus their hands on it.
I got a question here. It's a great one. It's a two-part question. The first part of it is when are you coming to the New England area? When are you play in Boston, right? And the second part of that is what is the importance of the hospitality and the tourism area in New Orleans? And clearly the Super Bowl is there. Clearly there have been other major events, but does that economic piece trickle down into the local community for local musicians?
Yes and no. The ones that's really in the now the ones who's like the Bourbon Street and Frenchman, a little bit of it. It's not like what the ones that should be playing Super Bowl is not playing Super Bowl. And you know, there might be doing little knickknacks outside of that Super Bowl circle, but it's not gonna really that Super Bowl flavor is not gonna really trickle down on the central city of CBD and the people who playing on Bourbon Street and stuff like that. So yeah, that's about all up with that one.
Can you
And me
talk a
coming to
little?
Boston, me coming to Boston gonna be real soon. I know we're supposed to be playing BB King Club. I know that's supposed to be coming up soon. So yeah, so I'll be that way very soon.
All right, we'll be there to support you, man. Looking forward to that.
I'll be there very soon.
There's a wonderful question here about gender and the role of women, particularly, perhaps your mother, Big Queen Rita. What is her role in the Wild Magnolias, and what is the role of other women, perhaps before Katrina and after Katrina?
Well, before Katrina, my mom had I ain't gonna say she just started master, but she was just in the beginning parts of it. I started before my mom. My mom started after me, but she had been helping all my life. Since I started mastering, she was the one helping sewing. My dad helped sewing and stuff like that. So when she started masking, I think she was supposed to do it 1 year. She just wanted to try it out. Her and my dad had been together forever. So she was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna try it out." And she's going on like 20 something years now, close to me. So, and her role, like, she's the mama of the Indians. I hate to say it like that because she's gonna fuss at me if she hear me say that. But she's like the mama of the Indians. Like, they have older guys that still call her mama. And I'd be like, "Mom, these people could be your daddy. And they calling you mom." And it'd be so funny. But even like with my dad, when she was messing with my dad, she kind of kept everything in order. And I heard a queen say a long time ago, the queens are like the neck, and the chief is the head. So without the neck, the chief can't turn. The head can't turn, and that's basically right. Because like even with me, she masters with me, so she keeps certain things in order. And she'll come to me and be like, "Well, how about we do the da-da-da-da?" And then we'll start talking about it that way. And after Katrina, I think more queens started masking. Before Katrina, it wasn't a lot of queens out there masking. You might have a good handful. I don't know if they were scared or they didn't have that many Indians. But now they have more women masking, have more little children, little girls. I have 2 daughters that's masking, and they drives me because they want to mask Indian. If we sit out, or that hurts their feelings. But yeah, before Katrina, I could count on one hand how many women they had that masked Indian. And now, like, they have more women masking, they have more higher positions. They might have big queen, they have spy girls now, they have flag girls. So it developed more after Katrina. And like I said, I think change is better. Ain't nothing stay the same. And the way I tell Indians, the way I explain to Indians, you can remember a long time when cell phones first came out, they was about that long. You had a cell phone, it was long, it had the big long gray wire and stuff like that. So after time went on, you got the little small phones now, and you got iPhones. Who thought we could see each other on a cell phone a long time ago? So things change, and you gotta move for time.
For folks outside of the city who are interested to come to New Orleans during Mardi Gras, what is your advice on how they should engage Mardi Gras?
Don't do Bourbon Street. Bourbon Street is not Mardi Gras. Go to the culture. Go in the neighborhoods. Go see the second line band. Go see the Indians. Get up 5 o'clock in the morning. Go see the skeleton men do their ritual. You can see the baby dolls coming out certain ballrooms. Go underneath the bridge. You can see people really cooking, and you want something to eat? You don't even know them, but they gonna offer you something to eat, like George Porter said. Go see the real Mardi Gras and enjoy yourself, and because that's all it is. It's just a big party.
I want to go back to something about this notion of justice, and we've been talking about economics, and there are a number of economic engines in New Orleans now that are based on the richness of the culture and the legacy of the culture. How would you advise somebody in how to make sure the economics trickle to the culture bearers, to the tradition bearers, to the elders of the community? How could we fix that system such that those who are the, the creators or the progeny of the creators of the culture, and those who may not be able to get out and march and second line and play anymore, that they still benefit from their rich legacy? What would you advise?
I think with a person, going through all these little companies and stuff like that, I'll be a little skeptical sometimes if
Hmm.
it's gonna go straight to that person. And there's a lot of elders that's in the culture that needs help. Out of bills, uh, medicine. Certain medicines they gotta pay for and stuff like that. And I've seen this like hands on. And so if they want to help somebody, I really suggest going to them.
Hmm.
It's easy to find Indians around here. You know, you can contact one Indian. Oh, where is this Indian at? And believe they'll find them because the Indian community is small. All the cultural barriers are very small. We all know each other,
Hmm.
or somebody do know that person. So if they want to help, that's my main suggestion is to go to that person. Don't worry about going to no company or the little fundraisers and stuff like that. I say go straight to that person.
Hmm. So it just snowed 10, it was 10 inches. Is that what
Yeah,
y'all had about a
yeah,
week or so ago?
yeah. We had 10
And
inches.
and Mardi Gras is when?
March 4th.
Now, today is March 6th. Last week was the end of January.
Right.
Man, what happens if it snows on Mardi Gras? We still having it?
We gonna be inside. I'm not gonna. If it snows on Mardi Gras, I would be inside. Uh, I didn't cry some Mardi Gras. I mean one Mardi Gras it poured down raining, and I mean it poured down, and I cried. I sat in the house. I wasn't going nowhere. I was young. My mom like, we're gonna go around the corner. You want to come? No, I'm staying inside. And about an hour later, I was walking around the corner with a rain jacket on. You know, because when you spending all your money, you're spending all your time. Uh, you show it off. So when you hit that's what you want to do. And when rain hit, I would go out in the cold. Believe me, I'm some Mardi Gras have been freezing cold. I'll go out in the cold, but I can't go out in that rain. If it's snow, and they say it's supposed to snow again. So if it's snow on Mardi Gras, or it's gonna be y'all gonna see a grown man cry again.
Now, tell the viewers, right behind you is a suit that your mother made. To tell the folks about, both the economics of the suit as well as the time commitment to sew that by hand, and perhaps even the weight of wearing that up and down the street during Mardi Gras.
So this is last year's suit. This is her suit from last year. Where she's over there sewing right now. She finally got in here. Remember Emily we were talking about?
Tell Queen Rita we say hello.
I will. So yeah, this is her suit from last year. So my mom she's the biggest queen in New Orleans. Like her suit is the biggest one in New Orleans, and because all the rest of the queens be different, petite and small. My mom dresses like she dresses like big, and the weight. Ooh, I, my suit by itself probably be between 300 to 400 pounds with everything on. And we were walking 8 hours on Mardi Gras Day. So you picture having that on all day and walking the streets and stuff like that. So a lot of times we just be walking the streets with these suits on. And so see that's like the wall, I call it the wall of fame. With the red, white, and blue right there, that's my mom's suit. And that's her at the end of the stage dancing with the peach and white on. So a lot of times she just be, the weight of it, you're not gonna stop. You're not gonna feel it. Oh, but that next day you're gonna feel it. You're gonna be walking like you're about 100 years old, slumped over. But Mardi Gras Day, you're not gonna feel it because you're so pumped up. The energy, the spirit is all over you. You got hundreds of people walking behind you. singing with you and coming to see you taking pictures. 8 o'clock Wednesday morning, or I'll be teaching all the horses and talking about rub me down and stuff like that because my body be hurting.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Can you tell the viewers about Super Sunday, and is it as significant as Mardi Gras?
Super Sunday is a good time for people because certain people be scared of crowds, but Super Sunday is a family orientated. You can sit in one spot and you'll see all the Indians pass you, and it just be a big fun time. My daughters come out. Maybe that's their favorite time. It's Super Sunday because everybody get to see them. Their friends, their teachers, and they come out. They come out and come see them. That's like the family orientated. You come out and get some good food. Have stages out there with some good music, blues and stuff like that. And Super Sunday for anybody who don't like crowds, that's a good time to come.
And let's stay on this thread. We have a couple minutes left. For folks who are not from New Orleans and want to visit, perhaps outside of Mardi Gras, what should they look for? What should they look out for? What can they expect?
Well, if you outside of Mardi Gras, when you come to New Orleans, you can just look for anything, and believe me, you're going to find it. If you go, whatever you're looking for, music wise, cultural wise, food wise, relaxations, is all in New Orleans. Now, I call New Orleans a big gumbo because there's so many different flavors in it to make one big New Orleans. If you're just looking for something spiritual, you'll find that. You looking to gain a little weight with food, you definitely find that. You want to lose some weight, go to the club and start dancing. So it's so many different things you'll find in New Orleans, and that what makes New Orleans: the culture, the food, the hospitality, the venues, the houses, the cultures in New Orleans, buildings. Every building in New Orleans has a story behind it. Even especially the old buildings, the old churches. We have churches almost 200 years old, and a lot of them churches are still up and running. So, like I said, whatever you're looking for, you will find it in New Orleans.
And for those of us who are interested in learning more about the Mardi Gras Indians, what would you advise? Can we just show up down there and look for a neighborhood and ask for where the Mardi Gras Indians are, or what's the best way?
They have a lot of friendly Indians. Now you might have some that might not be so friendly, but if you're just trying to learn about the history and the culture of it, a lot of Indians would be open and willing to teach you and show you different things, different communities and stuff like that, where the Indians started from.
And for just for reference, because again, going back to the suit behind you and your mom's suit, $200, $400.
Ooh, I wish
$600.
I wish it was $200. Look, so me, a pound of feathers is close to between $400 and $500. And I use up to 6 to 7 pounds of feathers. So that lets you know how much feathers would be. We use velvet, and the velvet right now in the store is like $20, $25, depends on what color you're using. And you might use up to 10 to 20 yards of velvet. And then your time of sewing, that's priceless. Because last night I went to bed about 4 o'clock sewing, and then got up for 7 because I had to bring my daughter to school. So it's a rotation, like it never fails.
And that's for months. I mean, I'm not going to ask you how many hours, but you start sewing when, and when does it get really?
I start sewing the Friday after Mardi Gras. So if Mardi Gras is Tuesday, I start that following Friday.
And you sew all the way for the year?
Yes.
Okay.
When we be on the road, most time when I'm not hanging out with them, that's what I be doing. I'll be in the room. Be in the room sewing. So I take patches on the road with me. If I'm at work and it's slow, especially when I put my daughters to bed, I sew all night because they be climbing all over me. So by the time they go to bed, I had most to myself,
Wow.
and that's what it be.
Man, I appreciate that commitment and the discipline that it takes. I mean, it just really, really amazing. Last questions here, maybe two quick ones. When is Super Sunday this year?
Super Sunday is so we have everything in 1 month this year. Mardi Gras is March 4th, St. Joseph is March 19th, and Super Sunday is that Sunday after the 19th. I don't remember. I want to say the 24th, I think, something like that.
Okay. And maybe if you share with us a closing thought. I mean, this has been great to have you on and to have a conversation with you in the public, and we're so grateful for your time and for you just
Thank
sharing
you.
such transparently. What would you leave us with?
Come to New Orleans and have a great time. And just like I said earlier, make sure you lose 20 pounds before you get to New Orleans. Maybe 10. I'll let you lose 10 pounds. Because when you get back home, you gotta lose the other 10. Wear comfortable shoes, but mostly all come down here, enjoy the culture, the food, the love, and you'll have a great time.
Big Chief Dollis Jr. of the Wild Magnolias, man, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
y'all so much for having me.
Absolutely. Allow me to turn it back over to Dr. Carol Oja.
This concludes our program today. Thanks so much to Emmett Price III and Big Chief Dollis Jr. for their moving conversation, and to our audience for the questions. Thank you too to Harvard's Department of Music for co-sponsoring this event. We hope you will join us again next Tuesday, February 11th at 4 p.m. for the second in our pair of webinars about the impact of Hurricane Katrina on the long-established communities of New Orleans and their musical traditions. That program will feature the Queen of Bounce, Big Frida, for a conversation about music, community, and strength in the face of climate disaster. For more information and to register, please visit radcliffe.harvard.edu. Finally, today's program has been recorded and will be posted online in about a week. For information about upcoming Radcliffe programs and to see videos of past events, please visit our website. Thanks again for joining us, and take care.